Daisies blooming, sundress swaying in the breeze. I can't stop staring. You've put a spell on me, and I hope that you never decide to set me free. The way you're moving, it's got me moving my own feet. The greatest feeling that I could ever dare to dream is you forever moving next to me. Let's not waste time, oh, take this slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two. The leaves ain't waiting, their colors changing like the times. And I'm taking, darling, would you be mine? And I hope you know I will love you for the rest of my life. Let's not waste time, oh, take this slow. We got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Tapping Off Farm. Got quite a nice sunny day at the moment. We've had quite a bit of rain recently. Really strong winds again, which has kept us indoors, but we've been pretty busy recently, working various different jobs. I've got my daughter staying. We haven't seen her since October last year, unable to fly due to COVID restrictions, but thankfully she has been spending the last 10 days with us here on the farm, which is wonderful. She's been helping us a lot with different jobs here and there, getting her farmer on big style. One of those jobs was moving some bokashi over to the polytunnel to put on the new beds that we're making there. If you have a look through last year's videos, you'll see a couple of vlogs dedicated to making this bokashi, which is fermented organic material. A few days ago we got the trailer out and we took a few loads over to the polytunnel, and that's what we're going to be doing today, carrying on with that. And that is helping make some no-dig beds in the polytunnel so that we can get the seeds in the ground and get the veggies growing for this year. We've also been spending a lot of time planting trees, fruit trees, of course, and working with the trees that we have already present on the farm. This area I'm standing in, we've often referred to as goose wood. In the old days it was goat wood, and the reason it had that name was this was a very small area of silvopasture. Silvopasture being trees planted into grazing, and this was planted for the goats to be able to provide fodder species for the goats, trees that are palatable, edible for the goats. And we planted that a couple of years ago, and as a system it was growing very well. We planted poplar and hazel here, and the idea being that those trees were going to grow and eventually we would pollard them, which is cutting them up above browse height to make the trees resprout into multiple stems, and then those stems would be cut and fed to the goats, either fresh or dried. But over the last few years we realized that this area being so close to the house and such a fantastic sun trap might have been better devoting this to growing food for the humans of the farm. And so we have edited this area heavily over the last couple of weeks, digging up the poplar and some of the hazel and moving them to a different location and replacing them with fruit trees. Luckily the trees were very easy to dig up, being only a couple of years old, and hardy trees anyway, poplars. I think they can take a little bit of disturbance. So we've moved them to different areas around the farm so they can still be what we call snack trees for the goats, but replacing them with cherries and apples and creating a mixed small orchard here at the back of the house. Like I said, perfect location for an orchard and really great aspect here. It's a south-facing slope. We've got hedges all around, and it's at the bottom of our new area of forest garden up where the canal and the ponds are. So very excited to have done the work here, planting the trees. We've got about 2 varieties of cherries here interplanted with some of the trees that were planted actually by the previous owners, which we've pollarded. This is an alder, so a nitrogen fixing tree, hopefully providing some of the fertility needs for these fruit trees. So we've got several types of sweet cherry planted here, which are the hardest sweet cherries that we could choose. And then on the other side, we've got a row of mixed apples, and this is 2 varieties of apples, Red Devil and Discovery. And these have been interplanted with Aleagnus umbellata autumn olive as a nitrogen fixing shrub. And again, there's some mature alders there. We've been making edits to the area of forest garden that we started last year. We're still planting more trees up there. We've also started a new area of forest garden on the walk up to the pond, which is very exciting, just expanding these multi-layered, multi-strata forest gardens. But as I said, first things first, we're going to start the day ferrying over some of the bokashi and get making those beds in the polytunnel. Right, Rosa's joined me. Hello, darling.
Hello. I've helped dig.
Hello, hello. The other day we took about a trailer load of bokashi, which was enough for a 4 meter by 1 meter long bed. We're not doing 10 centimeters like starting a no-dig bed. We're just giving, you know, a few centimeters. Yeah, thick mulch application. This is the bokashi, and we're really pleased. Like I said, if you look back over some of our old videos explaining what bokashi is, you'll see why we're so amazed by this, that we've created a compost without having to turn. But as we've dug down, we have found quite a few pockets of non-fermented material, and this is down to the fact that we were working with straw and goat manure. And of course, goat manure is very dry, it's not like cow manure, sort of big and sloppy. And then lots of straw creates lots of air pockets in the bokashi pile, and we want to create an anaerobic situation with bokashi, so no air, no oxygen. And I think we didn't quite achieve that, so we've come across quite a few pockets of almost complete straw that hasn't really fermented and matured into fertilizer or mulch that we're looking for. But pretty good for our first go, and what we're doing is we're just scooping off the top layer, which seems to be the most kind of composted, bokashi-fied layer that we have right now. And what we might do is, once we finish this job, add some more EM, some more of the effective microorganisms to and cover this up again and give it another couple of months, and then have a look at it then. But really pleased anyway, really nice brown compost-like material.
This is the pockets that we sometimes find that are kind of dry, oopsie, and haven't really changed very much. Basically, we added some water when we were making the bokashi, so we kept adding that afterwards just to make sure it had enough moisture. But I think, yeah, we have certain ways that we were thinking of actually making this work a little bit better in the future. idea about how to increase the moisture content in the bokashi, and that would be actually to use the goat bedding, which is very dry, with just a little bit of the manure, the kind of pellety poos that they do, and actually process that again through our chickens. We're often sourcing bedding for the chickens. Sometimes it feels like a bit of a waste to use fresh straw. So considering how dry the goat bedding is, because we're trying to keep such a dry environment for the goats, if we can place the chickens near the goats and every now and then just take out the bedding from the goat byre and put it in where the chickens are, they'll add their own manure, and the moisture from that manure, and obviously the manure itself, will just change the balance of the organic matter that we're using for the bokashi, and hopefully that will make it that little bit wetter and better next time we do it.
So actually, as we progress into the middle of this heap, we're finding the quality is much better, which kind of makes sense. Some really nice crumbly brown material, so really happy with that. That's going to be great for sowing into and transplanting into as a deep mulch. Obviously the ends of the heap is where it's going to be drier, and that's where we started digging, so that's where we found most of the straw. But as we come into the middle, it's definitely broken down a lot more.
It's so crumbly that I can't.
Yeah, can't get it on a fork. Right. All right, that's plenty. We're going to get this over to the polytunnel and add it to the beds. Alright, that's us over at the polytunnel with our load of bokashi to put onto the beds. I'll just give you a quick look at what we've been doing in here over the last wee while. So I think at the end of the last vlog we were explaining our decisions to change the orientation of the beds here in the polytunnel. Over the last 6 years or so they've been running east to west 15-meter long beds. With this year being more about producing food for the home, we've decided just to change things up a bit, because why not? We've gone for making smaller beds running north to south with a larger pathway for access. We've only shaped 3 beds so far and managed to give a deep mulch to one of them and just started a little section on that one. So we've put cardboard at the ends. We're not putting cardboard on the whole bed, we're just putting it where we know there's the worst of some weeds. We've got a little bit of ground elder in the tunnel, which a lot of you will know is pretty tenacious. So we're doing our best to try and stop it. To be honest, I don't think that's really going to do much, but we'll see. We've got to bring in the bokashi in the wheelbarrow, and we're just going to be applying it to the beds. While I'm doing that, I think Rosa is going to be getting ready to transplant some of the tomatoes. Again, in the last vlog you saw that she was seeding them. They've grown very quickly on our heat mats in our house, and it's time to transplant them.
Just potting on the tomatoes that I was sowing the other day. They've grown quite well. Unfortunately we lost some, just didn't water them one day, and with heat mats that just quite quickly dries out the soil. But I did oversow, so that's okay. And now obviously they're looking quite leggy. We've put them in the lightest area of the house, but it's still not that light compared to say a polytunnel or just outdoors. So they're a bit leggy, and it's just a chance to kind of pot them on, put them in a bit more soil, let the roots grow, and just build that soil up a bit and make them a bit stronger. I've actually mixed a kind of potting mix with what I did for sowing the seeds in, where I kind of mixed in some kind of sandier soil. I've also added in some bokashi just for good luck, but also for some fertility for the tomatoes. So hopefully they can stay in these larger pots for a bit longer now. I'm going to take them back inside though, still to the heat mats, and then it probably won't be that long, considering how mild it is right now, until we bring them out into the polytunnel. Not too long, not too many months until tomatoes. Oh yeah, well done. Ta-da! It's exciting. 2 grapes just arrived and we're going to be planting them in the polytunnel here and seeing how they do. Both are actually meant to be great outdoors in UK climates, but because of how far north we are, we're going to be keeping them in the polytunnel.
So my job this afternoon is I'm going to get the BCS and the trailer back to the tractor shed. I'm going to disconnect the trailer and I'm going to attach our rotary plough, which is a corkscrew plough which digs earth and throws it out to the right hand side, so basically makes a trench in the soil. And I'm going to make a long trench to be able to plant some trees into. For those of you who are our patrons, you'll have been hopefully watching our videos that we've been making about all our tree orders that have arrived. But for those of you who aren't following us on Patreon, we've been storing all our tree orders here in the polytunnel, healing them in, which is just covering up the roots prior to planting them out in their final position. So as you can see, we've got quite a few trees still left to go out into our various agroforestry systems. And some of them that we've got in here are Aronia berry or chokeberry. For those of you who don't know, Aronia berry is a dark purple blackberry, which I think originates from North America. Its other name is chokeberry because it has a very astringent nature to the berry. So it's not really one for eating fresh off the bush, but great for making into jellies and jams and juices, and absolutely loaded with lots of health-giving properties. We've been growing them here on the farm for some time and they do very well in our climate. We want to put in a dedicated planting of these instead of having them dotted here and there like we have done. We want to actually focus on growing a small area of Aronia berry. So we've got about 20 bushes here healed in the nursery waiting to go out. So this is what I'm going to be planting this afternoon, and they're going to be going up in one of the old market garden plots, so a plot that we have now decided to put over to perennials rather than the annuals. So we're really excited to get these in, and then of course we've got to carry on with the rest of the trees that are in here. These are all mostly apples now that are left to plant out. So I'm going to go and attach the rotary plough to the BCS and dig a planting furrow basically to put these bushes into. Oran absolutely hates our two-wheel tractor. Every time I start it up he goes absolutely mental, trying to tell this thing how much he hates it, which is a bit problematic for trying to drive the thing around, and we're doing our best to try and train him not to, but it's impossible. He just absolutely hates it and wants to tell it so every time. I'm going to start this up. Alright? Okay, he goes. I am going to get Oran back in the house though for this bit, because as you can see he's still fixated on the machine and it could be dangerous having him there while I'm trying to concentrate on using it to cultivate the soil. So Oran, sorry pal, it's time to go in. Oran, Oran, come on, inside. Okay, so this is the plot where we're going to be planting the Aronia berry. Over the last 6 years, this has been one of our many vegetable plots where we would rotate vegetables for the CSA veg box scheme. And it's been a perfectly good plot for vegetable growing. As you can see, it's between two of our forest garden tree rows. These are two mixed rows of fruiting shrubs and trees. We made the, well, I made the mistake about 5 years ago of planting mint in these forest garden tree rows, and it's made a fantastic ground cover, suppressing all weeds, and it's kept us supplied with mint for many a mojito, but it's spreading. A lot of people worry about the aleagnus, the sea buckthorn. Our biggest invasive species we've got here is mint, and before long it's going to spread into these beds, and if we were cultivating vegetables here, we'd be forever pulling out mint rhizome. So if you can't beat them, join them. We're going to start planting perennials here instead, in between these two rows. So this plot of 10 beds, 5 and 5, are going to slowly be turned over to essentially forest garden, although a little bit more linear. We've already got some fruit trees in the back plot, some apples, and we're going to do a row of the Aronia berry in the middle. Currently we've got a bed dedicated as a nursery. This is gooseberry and aleagnus and some cultivar elder. They're going to be moved this year anyway into the big nursery, which is going to be over there. And then we've got a bed sown to yarrow and different herbs, motherwort. Of course that's going to spread too, so the idea is that we'll create this herbal understory for the Aronia, using the geese to graze or trample it down if needed, and we'll also be harvesting those herbs. So if the mint creeps into these beds, we're not so worried. We're going to look at this row of Aronia as a little bit of a test row for future enterprises. Obviously it's still a very small row. We're only going to do 15 meters of Aronia this year. We might extend that to 30 meters. But for now we're just going to see how they grow, how it is to look after them as a crop rather than letting it fend for itself in a kind of forest gardening sense. The pruning, the maintenance that's involved in looking after Aronia berry as a crop. We've already got a friend lined up who is a brewer who's very interested in buying berries from us, and I think he'll be very interested in the interesting aspect of the Aronia berry. But anyway, that'll be a few years before the Aronia starts bearing heavily enough to sell. Just going to plough a furrow with the rotary plough, and then I might have to do a bit of digging by hand just to loosen up any compaction at the bottom of that furrow, and then we'll bang in the Aronia. Great, that went really well. I think I just need to do one pass. It's very loose soil anyway, because we've been cultivating here for the last several years, so the soil was very easy to dig into. So I don't think I want to work the soil any more than I have to. So that's great, all loosened up, got a nice trench just to put the roots into. They're quite small plants. So just got to come in here to the polytunnel and get a wheelbarrow load of the Aronia and then get them in. Just been joined by my little helper. So that's the Aronia berry in. Very easy, just putting them into the trench that we dug with the BCS and rotary plough. We gave everything a good water and backfilled the soil, and I'm just going to level it out a little bit more now so that we haven't got lumps and bumps everywhere, which might be difficult when it comes to weeding or whatever. Alright guys, that's us coming to the end of the day. Great to have this row of Aronia berry in. They should settle in fine. We're going to give them a bit of a mulch sometime. But yeah, really pleased to get them planted. Great to get a couple more beds mulched with the bokashi and the polytunnel, potting on those tomatoes and peppers. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's vlog, and until next time, we'll see you soon. See ya.